and we try to cover every possible angle of what could happen, what should happen, and how we can best fulfill the interests and needs of our members. That can't be done comfortably, including personnel issues, as a public entity, because many people in this community especially misunderstand that if something is mentioned, that means it's going to happen. And the rumor mill is huge in Fairfield Glade. So we discuss your interest, Kara's interest, Pat's interest, and put all of those together and come to a decision by inputting multiple pieces of information. We do not want that to be misconstrued. We want it to be in the best interest of our members. And therefore, that must be an executive session, and it must not be public.
You act like any other community. That's what I would just tell you.
That's what we do.
Other communities would have the same type of concerns, and yet they comply.
We are private.
No, that's incorrect. Most homeowners associations have executive sessions in private. You have this mindset that we're a city, a municipality, because we have all these amenities, we have all these facilities, we have a sewer department. We're not. We are not a governmental entity. We are Tennessee not-for-profit corporation, a private corporation. Okay? Private corporations have private executive sessions all the time. Large-scale communities like us throughout the country have private executive sessions all the time for a lot of the reasons she just mentioned. So we're doing the standard best practices for our type of organization, not for a city, not for a municipality. You know, the membership about, 8 years ago had the opportunity to become a city. And the membership pretty much told the board, we don't want to be a city. We like things the way they are. Okay? So don't try and make us into a city, because we're not, and we don't want to be. Okay? We're acting best practices for a large-scale community. So that's why we do executive session the way we do. Okay? Now, with respect to your double standard situation, as I've mentioned, our CNRs and documents clearly indicate that multifamily properties and commercial properties, for that matter, don't come under our CNRs. Okay? Multifamily properties and commercial properties do not come under our CNRs and our ACC rules. Okay? But we have a good relationship with Wyndham and the developer. So anytime I see something or I hear about something, I contact them and say, hey, could you please take care of this? So there's no need for the board to send a letter to them. I just contact Mark McLean, the resort manager, and say, hey, Mark, can you take care of this? And Mark's pretty good about that. And Mark, if he sees something that we're doing that he doesn't like, he does the same thing. So we have a good relationship. And pretty much when I do that, they take care of it in short order. Okay? So that's the way we work. So if you've got an issue with something, give me a call, and I'll call Wyndham, I'll call the developer and take care of it.
Can you just clarify for me the definition of a living unit?
A living unit is any unit within Fairfield Glade, any living unit, okay? But there's a specific clause in the CNRs, which I sent to you, that specifically says during the development period, multifamily units, timeshare units, Lakeshore Terrace, Wilshire Heights, do not fall under the ACC rules. That's what you have to look at, okay? It's in the CNRs. That's our Bible. That's what we go by. So you may consider it double standards, but bottom line, overall, it's worked pretty well for 50 years. And I think overall, people would agree the community is very well maintained. And if there is an eyesore or something, typically it's taken care of in a relatively short period of time. Again, that's during the development period. Once the development period's over, that is, the developer's out, then that changes, and all the multifamily come under, the CNRs or the ACC rules in particular. So we're following our documents appropriately. You may not like that, Your standards may be higher than the FGCC standards, but we have to go by FGCC standards, not by your standards.
Yes, Colleen.
I'm Colleen Mall. I don't know if you know, Mr. Ratcliffe, but the volunteer organization Assisting Disasters, of which I'm a part of, which is a county-driven organization, has identified shelters that meet the requirement to be a shelter. Red Cross does not exist here anymore, and that organization, you all are very well aware of it, I think. There are shelters identified in Fairfield Glade as shelters that were identified, well, all over the county, that were identified that would meet the need in any event. And if you remember with the ice storm, I believe the center was a warming station spontaneously and met that need very well. So that's just an educational. So if you need more information, Mickey Eldridge, who directs that down at Good Samaritan, and Doug Scarlett is the chair of that board, they would be able to provide you information of the shelters that are in the county. Thank you.
Thanks, Colleen.
And in fact, as I mentioned yesterday, we have an agreement with Red Cross that if there were a disaster here, that this facility would be a Red Cross shelter. Now, with the caveat that we have electricity. If we don't have electricity, then they've indicated they can bring in portable generators to take care of things. And probably prior to that agreement, I met with the county EMA director and talked to them about the possibility of generators, and they indicated that you would need to get those from Red Cross. Now, I don't know if you know anything different, Mayor, but that's what we were told at that time, that the county probably could not provide generators, but the Red Cross definitely could provide generators in an emergency, portable generators. So.
Okay, are there any other comments? Okay, with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, is there a second? Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Hold on.
Yes, sir.
There's room for member comment, board
member
Yeah,
comment.
go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, and
Sure.
I did want to mention one thing that's been a change that we put in this month. Some of you may remember you did see an email blast about lot strategy and what we're doing with the lots that we own, as well as looking at the lots that the county owns and also Wyndham. And in that regard, we changed one process. We're trying it out this month to see how it works. We're going to continue with it, but we're going to make adjustments if we need to. And that change is, what we're doing is, if some of you may, if you were here at the board meeting last month, there was a proposal to look at an engineering study for putting in the sewer in Beechwood Lane and Beechwood Court. We tabled that motion, and the reason why we tabled that motion is we wanted to get a letter out to all affected property owners before the board took action, so that they would know exactly what was going to happen or what we're proposing to do and what the cost of that could be to them as a property owner. Now, that letter went out last Thursday. We gave them a contact here in Bob's organization to make sure they got back to us with any questions, concerns, or issues that they had. We're going to monitor that closely because that's how we're going to learn how to, if there are issues with this, that we know about them earlier rather than later. But the key is that what we want to do is give the property owner the information of what the board is contemplating before we take action, so that they can do a couple things. One, we suggest in the letter that they get with a real estate professional or someone familiar with the real estate market here in the Fairfield Glade area to see what the impact may be on the value of their property because of the action the board may take. So that's one of the things we did. The second thing is that we asked them to, we told them exactly what the fees would be for their availability fee, and also what their new monthly fee would be, so they'd see what the impact would be on them financially before, again, we took action. So we're going to continue to do that. The other thing that we're changing with that strategy is we're putting a lot more emphasis on the board taking control of that, because frankly, we want our property owners to know about what we're going to do so that they can take a fair evaluation of what the value may be on their property or the impact may be before someone will come to them and say, I'll buy your lot for X, and they not knowing potentially that we're putting, say, a sewer in that could possibly raise the value of their property. So we want them to know what's happening before we do that. So this is, again, and Tom, maybe a little bit to your point, this strategy and this process worked several months to get through the board. And a lot of it was done, yes, in executive session because we had to do the sausage grinding. Now, when we did all the sausage grinding, there was an email blast that went out to tell everybody what the property or the lot strategy was going to be and what we were looking at, and now you're starting to see the fruits of that as we put that into effect. Now, if we had talked about that in a public forum, I'm not sure we ever would have gotten the document done. But we did, and again, to Janie's point, we're trying to do the best things we can for the property owners and the residents of this community. And that's why we're taking very seriously our role of being as transparent as we can, where we can be transparent, and making sure that people have information as best they know before we take actions. The other thing I would tell you is that this is going to be an ongoing theme, I think, in a lot of things, because the other thing, and I'll give Ken credit here, and Bruce, I'll give you some credit too, they continue to push us as board members to make sure we document all this stuff, so that we don't have just word of mouth or handshake kind of agreements. So there'll be whole processes that are going to be written around this strategy, and those things will be done as appropriate as new policies either come out or as policies get changed, they'll go out to the community for comment. So this is one example, I think, where the process is working the right way, and we're trying to take into account what the community is really needing. So.
Thank you, Greg. Are there any other board comments? Okay, then we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion to adjourn is passed. We stand adjourned.